Oh, first fish. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, finally one fish. Alright guys, this is the reel we're gonna review today. DAIWA Eliminator 4000. Before I even start the review, I just want to show you that I have good experience with this particular size of DAIWA reels. Look at all of these DAIWA 4000 reels. I have 2 of each of these. I only use the reels that I like in pairs, but this is DAIWA Laguna 4000. This is DAIWA Exceller 4000. This is generation 1 Exceller, not the new one with the, you know, thin body that has flex in the frame. This one doesn't have flex. This was DAIWA Caldia 4000 and this is DAIWA Vadel 4000. All 5 of these DAIWAs have exactly the same dimensions and almost the same weight. So why did I buy this one? Well, it's not because I need any more DAIWA 4000 reels, because all of those over there are still perfectly smooth because I don't really abuse them and I relube them every winter. So they're pretty much in like new condition. The reason I bought this reel is because I just love the way it looks. Or to be more accurate, I love the way it looks on the website. Okay? And you'll see why I'm saying this in a little bit. Essence CI4 Plus or Essence CI4 Plus. Remember my review of this reel? If you haven't seen it, I have detailed review, go check it out. But basically this is the most beautiful reel that I own. One of the sexiest reels known to men. Okay, if you know a sexy reel, yeah, let me know. $800 Stella? No, I don't think so. That one is chrome and shiny. Now, do you see the resemblance here? All black reel, only $100 versus this smooth and reliable but chrome and shiny DAIWA. Me like all black. However, before we even proceed with the review, let's see up close and in person how beautiful and how all black this reel really is, okay? Tell me, what do you think about this part right here? Does it look sexy to you? Okay, does it look all black to you? Did you see this on the website? No. This looks super cheap. This looks like the plastic that you see on the 1980 to 1995 van. Okay, it's just a yuck. I don't care that this is plastic, but paint it black, okay, or really dark gray, and put some pattern so it doesn't look like it's plastic, so it's not so obvious. What about this part here? Same super cheap looking plastic. The same cheap plastic over here. I don't mind plastic. Plastic is light and it doesn't corrode. It's okay. Paint it black. Or make it look like a fake aluminum or something. This is just really ugly. Oh, let's not forget the knob on the spool. Does this look cheap or what? Let's take a quick look at the box before I start talking about the reel. Aluminum body and aluminum cover. In my opinion, this is the only impressive feature in this reel. And DAIWA says this is anodized aluminum, not painted. So it's not gonna scratch, and even if you scratch it, it will remain black. DigiGear, Braid ready spool, yeah, they're all Braid ready these days, and Braid ready is not something useful to begin with. Twist Buster, just delete this, okay? 5.7 to 1 gear ratio, they all come with this gear ratio. This is a very fast retrieve reel, okay? People need to understand this. The number itself doesn't mean anything, because look at the size of this spool. This is a monstrous spool. Here is another 4000 Shimano reel. Can you tell the difference? The Shimano 4000 Nasky, same price by the way, much smaller spool. This is what determines how fast a reel is, not this. Okay, you need to know the exact diameter of the spool and then additional calculations to use this to tell how fast a reel is. This reel gets 1 meter of line per crank. Let me interrupt myself here because I don't think I explained it very good. Imagine that you hook a small 10-pound catfish with this reel, which is nothing to brag about. And you pick up the rod and you try to reel down on that fish. Now, because this reel retrieves 3.5 feet of line per 1 crank of the handle, if you try to crank the handle once on that catfish, you will be trying to pull this fighting 10-pound catfish 3.5 feet forward in the water. So what people end up doing in this situation is they pull the fish with the rod and then they drop the rod forward and simultaneously reel down on the fish. That's why I think the retrieve speed on this reel is too fast to fight catfish or carp or just about anything saltwater. Okay, 5+1 bearings. All of these reels on my table have 5+1 bearings. If you want to know where the 5 bearings are, tune the main gear as always, tune the pinion gear as always, and they actually put another bearing on the oscillating gear, warm oscillation gear. So this is the 5th bearing, and then of course you have the anti-reverse bearing. So 5+1 bearings. There is no bearing on the line roller over here. That's a bushing, which saltwater reels usually prefer, and this claims to be a saltwater. I really couldn't care less about the drag. I want smooth drag. I don't care 8 kilogram or 800 kilogram. All of this is absurd. And the last point, this is a very heavy reel, 410 grams for the 4000 size. 14.5, this reel will be 15 ounces with line, guys. Because the spool is so enormous and so deep and so high. This is gonna take like maybe an ounce of line to load it all the way to the lip of the spool. So just holding this in your hand, this is a heavy, heavy reel. You cannot be on the boat, you know, bass fishing, casting all day with this. No, this is a bottom fishing reel. First, out of the box impression of smoothness is that, and you know, this is, I'm telling you, this is whatever anybody tells you on the internet how smooth a reel is, it is unreliable and very difficult to tell the difference between smoothness of reel these days because they're all super smooth. But nevertheless, I'll tell you my opinion, this is ridiculously smooth reel. Just absolutely ridiculously smooth reel. I don't know if the gears are cut with incredible precision or they put some special grease, so while they're still new, the grease actually connects the teeth of the gears. And you don't feel nothing. It's just like I'm rotating only one part, not many parts inside. It's ridiculously smooth. What else does this reel have going for it? Here is the braid ready spool everybody's talking about. We have this anti-slip thing here, so it is braid ready. And the spool, like I said, it is just super deep and super tall. And this is gonna have salt water capacity, okay? This is gonna have, I don't know how many, 1 mile, 5 miles, who cares? After 100 yards, it's all the same to me. The drag, I know it's felt, but nonetheless feels very smooth. And may I say, the sound of the drag is vibrant. I love vibrant drag sound, and this one is pretty good. So no complaints with the spool or the drag. This sound, however, you know, I guess it's only matching the looks of this knob. Extremely unsexy, extremely cheap sounding and cheap feeling sound when you tighten the spool knob. All my other DAIWAs have this kind of handle. So this one has a different handle, I guess, because it's saltwater targeted. First of all, it's bigger. It's noticeably bigger. And second of all, it's more like cylindrical instead of this T shape. I don't know which one I prefer. I think I like both of them. I can't tell which one I prefer. Here's the first disappointment with this reel. There is no screw-in handle. This is $100 reel. The DAIWA BG, you get the handle and you just screw it to the body, okay? This one is, the handle goes through the body like so. And this is the old design. This Shimano Nasky here, which will be direct competition of this reel, has the same kind of handle. The DAIWA Exceller costs 60 bucks, but it has a screw-in handle. So I'm kind of disappointed that DAIWA didn't put a screw-in handle on this reel, especially because it's, well, they say it's saltwater. Now, typical for this type of handle is good amount of free play. Yeah, we have good amount of free play here. The knob, however, I don't know why, but the knob is super tight. Almost, maybe no free play in the knob. Even when you try to spin it, it's kind of tight. So the knob is tight, but this one here, it is not. What else on the outside? Pretty standard design. They kept this switch here for the reverse, which is, again, for saltwater, just another entry point for water. Nobody needs this switch. I think that's all on the outside. Now let's start taking it apart and see exactly how saltwater it is. Let's take a look at the drag stack first. Okay, the first thing to notice here is no seal of any kind, and look at the design. Now you know why it sounds so cheap and plastic. Here is how the knob on the Nasky sounds when you take it off. Listen. It just sounds sophisticated. $100 reel as well. And here you have it. A nice rubber greased seal that will reduce. It cannot completely prevent, but it helps with the access of salt water to your drag stack. At the drag washers, I have to say, even though these are felt, this is the best material, the best felt washer that I have seen ever. It is very thick, very stiff, and it has, oops, look at this, it has a texture. So that's why it feels so good, even though it's kind of cheap, you know. For 100 bucks, you know, they could have had carbon. By the way, before I put it back, kind of small, don't you think? Look how tiny these washers. Is this, do we have any more? No, that's it. Man, this is, you have 3 metal and 3 felt washers. This is the entire drag stack. Again, this quantum optics that I showed you during my reel restoration had like 12 of these. This one has only 3 felt washers, and this is saltwater reel, okay? So you're supposed to stop a tarpon with these 3 tiny felt washers. I don't know, DAIWA. Makes the vibrant drag noise on this reel. Now this is also extremely cheap, unreliable mechanism. I've already had issues with this mechanism. With time, this little piece of metal gets bent over or rusty and just breaks, and it doesn't always sound as good. And again, on the cheap quantum optics that I restored, we had a much better, much more sophisticated mechanism here, where this spike was supported on both sides and was ensured to always be perpendicular to the core here. Oops. And would always make good contact. I don't think this mechanism is appropriate in a $100 reel. Look at this white shaft. And DAIWA is using some very nice grease. If somebody knows where I can find this grease, this very grease, please leave me a comment. That said, I see absolutely no seal here. Nothing to stop salt water from entering through the main shaft in the body of the reel. Again, this is the Nasky, $100, direct competition. Also saltwater label. Shimano put their core protect here. Do you see this seal? It's hugging the main shaft. Okay, removing the handle exposes the other entry points for water to the body of the reel. And as you can see again, the bearing is directly exposed, okay? They put some grease here. It doesn't even go all around the bearing. I guess they try to protect it with this grease. I'll make sure it's completely packed with grease when I'm done. But there is no seal here. Okay. The same thing on the other side, bearing directly exposed. Again, let me show you the Nasky to see what it should look like. Do you see the bearing here? No, you don't, because you have this seal over here. Okay. Okay guys, this is kind of out of place, but let me demonstrate you something that I was aware at the beginning of the review, but I wanted to leave for last. But since I'm disassembling the reel now, I want to fix it, so I can only show you now, because after the fix it will be impossible to demo. I'll try to listen, try to hear a very small squeak. There is all of my DAIWAs, okay? All of my 4,000 size DAIWAs, and not only the 4,000 size, all of those little crappy reels here from the 2500 size, the Legalis, the Exceller, they all have this squeaky noise. The anti-reverse bearings on all DAIWAs have this problem, okay? And the way to fix it is remove the anti-reverse bearing and soak it overnight in motor oil. Fixes it permanently. Here comes the rotor. And here is the anti-reverse bearing. This is what is making the squeaking noise, guys. I'm telling you, I'm not speculating here. This is what makes the squeaky noise. And this is how you fix this bearing, okay? Put whatever motor oil you have, but don't reuse oil. But you know, I tried greasing these, I tried putting my TS321 grease. Nothing really helped the squeak. You have to soak it overnight. Nothing else gets rid of this damn squeak, okay? So I drop this over here and I will reinstall it tomorrow. Oh, look at this. I started removing these little bolts. They have thread sealant. Wow. Generous greasing here. Usually I don't see that much grease. I don't know if this main gear is rubbing against the side plate. It looks like it. Here it is. Damn, that was hard. So here is what's inside, guys. Very greasy body. How is this mechanism different from the $25 Quantum Optics? Tell me. It isn't. And let's look at this gear here. It has a part number, it's well greased. You know, I'm not gonna grease anything else on the reel, but the main gear I will put my own grease on. And I want to test some new grease that Mr. Tackle Advisors recommended, Aqua Shield. I'm gonna test it on this reel. I know once I put it, it will have more resistance, but then I don't have to open it again in the winter. Look at these teeth. They look much sharper and much finer than on that Quantum, and as a matter of fact they look much finer and sharper than on my DAIWA Legalis, which I opened recently. Now, what kind of material is this? DAIWA says it's something zinc.
We've got our killer zinc gears inside of it. We've got our killer zinc gears inside of it.
Okay, I cannot tell you what kind of material it is. If you can tell from this... Hey, Mr. Tackle Advisors, you weren't kidding when you said this stuff is messy. I don't want to let you know what I cut out of this video, but it was embarrassing. And here we are on the next day. Now the reel is packed with grease on both sides. Let's put the anti-reverse bearing back and see if the noise is still here. Oh yeah, I am very happy with this. I'm really happy with this. Now next thing, let's put on some line and see if the line lay is good. And there you have it, guys. Filled up with 0.30mm line, which is about, I don't know, 7 or 8 pound mono diameter. And it turned out pretty good. Anyway, it's pretty flat. After the adjustment I had to put one washer under the spool, but you know, I do this with 90% of my reels. So I'm kinda happy with the line lay, and there is one thing left to do before I give you my final thoughts, and that is tie on a feeder rig and go catch some carp with it, and I want to give you my impressions on how it handles under load.
Oh, first fish. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, finally one fish. So here are my initial impressions after a few carp with this reel. The reel is extremely smooth under load. I have a lot of nice reels and they're all smooth, but I don't know if because the aluminum body keeps everything inside very tight without flex, but the reel just feels super smooth even with a 10-pound carp on the line. I don't know if it's because it's new, but it actually feels better than my Zion body DAIWA Caldi of the same size. That's good and better than I expected. However, as I expected, the retrieve speed of this reel is too fast for what it's designed to do. When I fight the same 10-pound carp with the Shimano Nasky 4000, the Nasky just feels much more powerful than this reel, and the body of the Nasky is smaller and the gears are about the same. But the Nasky retrieves only 2.5 feet of line per turn, while this thing tries to retrieve 3.5 feet of line per single crank of the handle. Don't get me wrong, I can still catch any catfish in United States with this reel. 100-pound catfish with this reel, I'm gonna catch it, just put it on the line. It's just that I'm not gonna enjoy the fight as much as I do with my 4.7 to 1 4000 size Shimanos. And you're gonna work the fish the way I work it in this video. Pull the fish with the rod and reel down on it. Pull the fish with the rod and reel down on it. You can't just winch it with the reel like you can do with some bait casters.
Nice.
Alright guys, here's my usual summary. The good about this reel. Well, like I said, this reel is ridiculously smooth. It impressed even someone like me who is kinda used to smooth Daiwa and Shimano reels. And it's smooth both without load and under a decent load. Decent being about a 10 pound. Even with the cheap light gray plastic parts, I think this is a very good looking reel, even as it is. And the aluminum body and side covers keep everything tight, and I think this is what makes the reel feel so smooth even under pressure. Unfortunately, there is a lot of things that I didn't like about this reel as well. To begin with, this is definitely not a saltwater reel. I didn't find a single seal anywhere on this reel. Perhaps the bearings had, covers, but I don't think that can pass for a saltwater component. Maybe they count the line capacity as a saltwater feature. I don't know what makes this reel a saltwater reel. In my opinion, if this is a saltwater reel, so is every other reel on this planet. The weight. This reel is too heavy for my taste, at least in 2018. This weight used to be, average and even good maybe 10 years ago, but right now, I'm used to lighter reels already. This is definitely not a crappy reel. Do not buy this reel in the 2500 size and think that you can jig with it all day and fish for crappie or trout. You cannot hold this reel in your hand all day. And then the other thing I didn't like was the retrieve rate. It's just too fast for heavy fish. Freshwater, saltwater, you get into the 10 pound range. This reel is not gonna have the torque that I like. And when you combine this with the weight of the reel, you become in a weird situation where the reel is too heavy to fish for small fish where you have to hold the reel all day long, but the retrieve is too fast for heavy fish. So I don't know what would be the perfect application for this reel. The price of $100 puts it in direct competition with the Shimano Nasky and their own DAIWA BG. And I'm here to tell you that both of these are far superior than this DAIWA Eliminator. The Nasky is a proper saltwater reel. It has seals everywhere that there is an entry point, for water. And the DAIWA BG, the BG has the same huge spool, but it has an extra bearing. It has oversized gears. It has some seals. It has a screw-in handle. The BG is also a proper saltwater reel. It's designed to fight those heavy fish. Both the BG and the Nasky are not in the same league with this Eliminator. And in my opinion, the direct competition for this Eliminator is the Shimano Sahara actually, which has no seals and cost about $70. And even the Sahara, to me, the feel of the Sahara is, I don't know, I slightly prefer the Sahara for $70. So to me, the proper price for this DAIWA Eliminator is something like $60, guys. If you can find this reel for $60 at a sale somewhere, I recommend it. For more than that, in my opinion, there is just better reels on the market right now. And this is it, guys. You finally reached the end of this video. And since you got all the way here, please do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up. These things are almost like a financial donation to the author of the video. They make a big difference in the way the video is promoted on YouTube. I thank you for every minute you spend on my channel, and I will see you with my next review.